Have you ever thought, no matter how hard I grind, I just can't seem to get ahead or catch a break? What if I told you your thinking and not being connected to the right source has been the hindrance all along? Welcome to the Power Within, Unlocking Kingdom Principles with Dr. T. I am Dr. T. Hi. I haven't seen you guys in a while. I've truly missed you. I hope you guys have been blessed. Let's get into this one. This is a good one. This is actually going to be a series. I'm telling you, like the Lord has been doing the thing. This series is going to be the True Vine Part 1. As I was recording, like the Lord was stopping me to tell me to actually break this down even further. So it went from what I thought was going to be just one message to now he wants this to be a series. So the significance of this message is important because we have to understand that when it comes down to the true vine, we have to be connected to the source. Remember, when I started this, I mentioned to you guys that I always ask the question is, why is Christian so powerless? Well, this is one of those kingdom principles. Like for us to have that power and yield that power on this earth, we have to be connected to the true vine, and that true vine is Jesus. So let's get into this. Let's look at this from scripture, and let's look at this through an actual a real life event, something that happened in my life. So the scripture that I'm coming from is John 15, verse 1, and it's, I am the true vine, and my Father is the husbandman. That's John 15:1. So let's look at this story, and we're going to come back and come back around to that scripture to see how it actually relates, not to just my story, but you guys can see how this actually plays a part in your lives as well. So the story that I'm going to share with you guys is one that the Lord put in my heart that completely aligns with that specific scripture. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm going to share with you guys that at the age of 13 going on 14, I became a mom for the first time. I had my first baby at 13 going on 14. I was going to be 14 in 6 months after having her. I had my second child, my second daughter, 15 going on 16. I was going to be 16 in a month of after having her. And my son I had when I turned 20. So I was pretty much a teenage mom 3 times over. That was a lot to take on at such a young age. However, growing up, for me, I grew up in um, a single parent household, but my mom, we had our grandparents, which was my father's parents, that helped out tremendously. I spent a lot of time with them. I went over there after school. I went over there to eat dinner. Like my mom worked a lot, so my grandparents really stepped up and helped take a brunt of the the task that my mom had. So it allowed her to work while she knew that I was taken care of. Well, my father was actually the baby of the family. My grandmother had him pretty late in life, and I got them all to myself. My cousins, my first cousins, were all my dad's age, so they grew up with my dad. They were grown, and I was a baby. So I got all of the love. So they were hating on me. They was hating on your girl. Can you believe that? So they was hating on me because they used to always say, um, I was a brat, grandma and grandpa just looked out for you so much and this, that, and the other, because it was a lot of them and they had to share. It was just me. So I got a lot of stuff. But my grandparents gave them a lot too. It was just a lot of them at the same time. So, but that's neither here nor there. So when I got pregnant, because I was seen by my cousins as the good girl, the goody two shoes, they felt that it was funny that, I kind of like messed up that bad. Because not a lot of them had kids early. So fast forward some years, my grandmother died when I was 19. I'm now I had my son at this time. He was a lot older. He was about 5 or 6 at the time. So I was at my grandfather's house and, spending time with him. Like I said, I was always with my grandparents. So spending time with my grandfather was normal. I was just there. We were just watching TV like we normally would. He was reading the paper. And when I tell you that the enemy would use anyone that avails themselves to him to be used to plant seeds in our lives. I was sitting there, I was watching TV. He was reading the paper as normal. He was reading the Inquirer, and the paper was covering his face. So all I could hear is his voice. And he's sitting right across from me. And he says to me, Tasha, you were an absolute disappointment to me and your grandmother. Those words crushed me. Hearing that from someone that I looked up to, that I absolutely adored, and that I wanted to be proud of me. So many things came rushing to me when he said it, I couldn't even respond. I started crying because I started thinking about my grandmother. I remember before she died, I literally was at her bedside and I was telling her that she had a stroke and she couldn't talk, but she could hear you. And I was telling her how I was sorry for having the kids early and not doing more with my life because I know that they had such high hopes for me. They wanted me to do so much. And I was apologizing for that. And I just wanted her to let her know that I was doing well. At this time, I had a job at the government. I had my own house. I was paying my mortgage. I had a car note. Like I was doing well. I was taking care of my kids. Like I wanted for nothing. I was working 2 jobs at the time, but I wanted for nothing. And I wanted to share that with her. And she kind of like teared and had like a little smile. So I thought I was good. And then fast forward these years later, and my grandfather said this to me, and I was crushed. The only thing that I could do that day was to get my kids and leave. I had nothing else to say. So much so that I didn't speak to him anymore after that. And a couple months after that, he died. I was hurt again. Why? Because me and my grandfather was like ace, coon, boom. Like that was my dog right there. I swear that man thought that I was his grandson, not a granddaughter, or he wanted a grandson, and he was just like treating me like a grandson. But I'm like, I'm a girl, grandpa. But we spent so much time together. So to understand that this was the one time in my life that I was so hurt that I couldn't even go around him for months. And I never spoke to him about it. And this seed that was planted that day festered. It just grew roots, and fruit grew from that because now I felt the need to have to prove myself to him after he died, prove myself to everybody else around me because I felt like nobody else believed in me. If he couldn't believe in me, that means that nobody believed in me. And I had something to prove. I had something to prove. So I had to get out there and prove it. I proved it through my decision making with getting jobs, going to school, um, working multiple jobs so I can move up in the, because now I'm trying to prove it at my job, trying to prove who I am. Like, look, I deserve it. I got this degree. I got this, that, and the other. Like, why am I not being promoted? Why am I not being promoted? Like, what's wrong with y'all? I was trying to do the work. But if we look at that scripture that I just read, I am the true vine. My father is the husbandman. Understanding that I didn't have a source. I was my source. My source said to do this. But guess what? We have limited sources. If we're not connected to the actual true vine, we can't do much of anything. We can only go but so far. We can only achieve but so much. Listen, there are people that's out here that's not connected to God, and they did tremendous things. But I'm going to tell you this. God had even greater plans than what they achieved. And if they would have just connected to the source, they would have reached even more people. Remember that part. But here it is for me in this role. I'm up here trying to do this, that, and this. And God is saying, Jesus is saying, I'm the vine. Connect to me. I'm the source of all that you need, the source of everything that you need. And my father is the husbandman. Do you understand what husbandman means? Let me share with you what husbandman means. Because when I did this study, this one stood out for me. The husbandman is the person who cultivates the land. He is the farmer. He is the worker of the soil. He is the laborer. I was the one that was going out there and working this job and that job and doing this and that, trying to cultivate something that I wanted, to achieve the goal that I wanted. But Jesus is saying, connect to me. And because you're connected to me, my Father will do the work. He will cultivate the land, not you. We have to understand that this whole walk is literally our connection with heaven, co-laboring with heaven. I don't know how many times I can share that with you guys. We have to co-labor with heaven. Our part is not just the working, just the doing. Our part is having faith, being connected, staying connected, co-laboring with heaven. And that co-laboring in this particular situation is allowing God to do the work in us. Because He's the one that's going to prepare us to be used and to develop us. See, I was doing all of that. I was like, I'm going to go get this job, and since they're not going to make me a manager, I'm going to go be a manager outside of here. I'm going to get management skills, and then I'm going to get me a job. I'm going to get me my business a management degree, and then I'm going to turn around and get me a psychology degree, and then I'm going to become a doctor, and this, that, and the other. So I'm doing all of this. I'm preparing myself. I'm cultivating myself. I'm developing myself so I can be used. All to do what? Nothing. Because guess what? All of that, I ain't getting nowhere. I ain't getting no accolades. I ain't getting no recognition. I ain't getting none of that. Why? Because I was not connected to the true source. We have to stay connected to the true source. Now, listen, I want to highlight this to you guys because I started looking at this from, like, I looked at this study in one perspective from the word, but then I wanted to look at it from the real life, because we have to understand that everything is both spirit and natural. So understand this, guys. Check this out. It says what the Lord is trying to share. So this is my notes. I'm just going to share with you because I'm reading what I wrote down for myself. So what the Lord is trying to share with us spiritually, we also see in the natural. And here is what it says regarding vines in the natural. It says vines provide branches with life and substance. It acts as a source of nourishment that allows branches to grow and produce. The same thing that it was saying in the scripture. Like us needing to be connected to that source. Us allowing the Father to cultivate those areas, prepare us to be used and to develop us. Not for us to look at ourselves as the source, as the go-to, as the be all, know all, is all. We is not that. Like we know a lot. It's a lot of us that know a lot. We've gone to school and everything, and we know a lot through our experiences and everything. We can minister to others, but guess what? We don't know as much as God knows. We don't know everything. We only see what we see. We only know what we know. He has infinite wisdom and we have finite wisdom. So I just want to give you the charge today and ask 2 specific questions for you to think about, because we're going to go through this and unpack. We're going to look at the scriptures from 1 through 8 in chapter 15. And I just want you guys to really, really see whether you're actually connected to the true vine. Have you allowed yourself to be connected to the true source? Or are you still doing things on your own? Or if you have chosen to connect yourself to the true source, are you allowing the Father to cultivate the things that He's placed in you? Are you allowing Him to cultivate the land? Are you allowing Him to develop you? Are you allowing Him to prepare you? Are you allowing yourself to be used by Him? So think about those questions. Leave me a comment in the chat. Tell me what you think. Drop me a line. Share, like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Thank you so much, guys, for joining me. Until next time. Bye.